Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's panel discussion on employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. So this is a topic that continues to remain extremely relevant as organizations rethink leadership, employee engagement, workplace culture, and retention in today's evolving world of work. We are truly delighted to have with us an esteemed panel of leaders and learning professionals who bring diverse perspectives from leadership development, talent management, employee experience, and organizational culture. So let me quickly introduce our panelists for today. First, we have with us Mr. Akash Azad, Senior Manager, Training and Development, Apollo Hospitals, a seasoned learning and development professional with extensive experience in training, leadership coaching, and employee engagement. Akash brings deep insights into how managers and workplace culture influence employee motivation and retention. Welcome, Mr. Akash.
Thank you. Thank you.
So next we have with us Mr. Harshil Damani, Senior Manager, Learning and Development Global, Beiersdorf, an experienced L&D leader known for his work in learning strategy, experiential learning, and leadership capability development. His experience in driving impactful learning interventions will add valuable perspectives to today's discussion. Welcome, Mr. Harshil.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction.
So, we are also joined with us by Titi Thomas. She is a seasoned learning and development professional with extensive experience in driving people development and leadership capability initiatives. She currently leads learning and leadership development initiatives at ANSR, where she focuses on building high-performing leaders and fostering strong workplace cultures. With deep expertise in employee development, leadership effectiveness, and organizational growth, she brings valuable perspectives to today's discussion on the role of managers play in employee engagement and retention. Welcome, Stiti.
Thank you, Patil. Thank you for having me.
So joining us as well is Ms. Neetu Keshwani. She is an accomplished L&D leader and currently works as L&D head at Sirma SGS Technology, driving enterprise-wide capability building through future-focused leadership development, AI agility, and culture transformation initiatives. With deep expertise in building managers, emerging leaders, and scalable learning ecosystems, she brings practical insights on how leadership shapes employee growth, engagement, and retention in today's evolving workplace. Welcome, Ms. Neetu.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
So we also have with us I think Mr. Vasant would be joining. So I'll just give a short introduction of him as well. For L&D manager at Deluxe, who brings strong leadership and business experience, particularly around team management, organizational effectiveness, and people leadership in evolving workplaces. And moderating today's discussion, we have with us Mr. Anjan, VP Talent Management and Learning Northern Trust. Mr. Anjan brings extensive experience in leadership conversations, people engagement, and facilitating meaningful industry discussions. And we are excited to have him steer today's panel discussion. Welcome, Mr. Anjan.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Thank you so much.
So thank you once again to all the panelists for joining us today. We are looking forward to an engaging and insightful discussion. With that, over to you, Mr. Anjan.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Patel, and welcome to everybody once again. Good day to all of you. And I think one important shift we are seeing today is employees no longer evaluate workplace only through compensation or designation. So they evaluate manager quality, growth conversations, flexibility, psychological safety, learning opportunities, and increasingly whether leaders can help them stay relevant in an AI enabled world. So managers today are not just people leaders anymore. They're expected to be coaches, mentors, culture builders, capability developers, and change navigators. And that's exactly why this conversation matters. So let's begin with our first theme. So I've broken today's session into themes so we're all able to follow through. So our first theme is around modern workplace readiness and leadership capability. So the topic one is, are managers prepared for the modern workplace? With that context, I'm going to start off with you, T. Thomas. Let me begin. Organizations today are navigating rapid transformation, AI disruption, and changing workforce expectations. So, from your perspective, are managers truly prepared for the modern workplace, or are many still leading with outdated leadership approaches?
Thanks, Anjan. That's a very heavy loaded question. But I think you also answered it partly when you were introducing the topic as well. You see, right now, managers are expected to do everything. They have to be AI ready, they have to coach, they have to create the psychological safety, they have to build the culture, they have to ensure that they're helping their teams to grow. But think about it, when you hire a manager, or when you not hiring, when you promote a manager, what do you promote them for? You promote them because they were excellent individual contributors. You did not build the skill for them. So your question in terms of, are managers ready in the modern workplace, my question to you would be, are the systems enabling them? So it's very easy to kind of tag the entire thing on the manager and say, what, people don't leave companies, people leave managers. I believe people leave systems that are not enabling managers to perform well, or that are not enabling managers, or not getting them ready. It's as simple as this. You get somebody from the 10th standard, put them into a PhD class. You think they can perform well? No, just because I was a topper in the 10th does not mean I can really, understand and follow through. So the primary aspect is that when you're promoting somebody, you're promoting them for their ability to excel really well when they're working on their own. Now, that dynamic totally shifts when I have a team of 20 people I have to lead, because at that time, it's not my personal greatness that's going to help the team succeed. It's about how I ensure those people succeed as well. So there is a huge mindset shift. It's not just a skill shift. I believe it's a mindset shift. It's not about I mean, if you have to send a report out and it's 5 p.m. on a Friday and it has to go out right now, it's not about me taking the laptop from you, finishing it, and going off. Because in that case, I will always be the biggest bottleneck in the organization. So how am I, how's the organization helping me to do that? We are supposed to be doing everything as people leaders, but if the modern workplace is not enabling the leader, and if you expect them to be a jack of all trades right from day one, just because they were a jack of all trades and excellent at doing that on their last day as an individual contributor, I think you're setting them out for failure. And that is why I think it's also the Gen Zs now don't want leadership roles. They're very happy with their individual contributor role as well. They feel, why should I take extra responsibility of another human being when I know for a fact that they would not listen to me? So I believe more than the managers, it's about the systems. If you evolve the systems, and if you don't go by your standard, like your bell curve for that matter, I think it's so outdated, but all companies still go for the bell curve. Whose fault is it? It's not the manager's fault. As a people manager, I did not take that decision. So the system is enabled. I believe the managers, people managers, especially first time managers, will do wonderfully, wonderfully well. So kind of starting them with some kind of training before you throw them into the deep waters, before you expect them to start learning to swim in the deep water, train them in a swimming pool, in a environment which really helps them to evolve. I think that's the most important aspect for me.
Fantastic. And I thank you so much for being so respectfully candid there. Very interesting perspective, especially around how leadership itself is evolving. Now, with that, Vasant, welcome to the session. Thank you so much for joining in. And as you come in, without allowing you to settle, I'm going to jump right to you. Okay. So, Vasant, hybrid and distributed teams are now a reality across organizations globally. What are some common leadership gaps managers face while managing some of these distributed teams?
Well, the hybrid system has become a reality, and thanks to all the notion going on right now, the government asking us to again think about working from home. This is here to stay. After working in hybrid just after COVID, right? We started doing all sorts of interactions in person, meetings in person. We saw the power of in person connect. But when you look at Gen Z, referring to what Titi Thomas said, right? The Gen Z does not operate that way, and we've heard a lot of leaders coming back and saying that the Gen Z audience is not ready for work. They are not ready to do what we are giving them. Is that so? Even I felt it that way. Then I started looking at it from a different angle. I connected with some of the Gen Zs, trying to understand their lingo. Um, this I'd like to give a small example about a leader I met in Big Brewski. Big Brewski is also an expanding chain of breweries, right? So I met the leadership over there and I was asking them, how do you manage to run such a system? He said, we work as a tribe culture. Everybody is a family. Similarly, when I relate that to Gen Z, right? So Gen Z calls each other bro, right? So with that bro, they have the special connect, is what I felt. I tried imitating them, they caught me. I said, hey, stop pretending to be us, right? So there is definitely a gap. And one of the clearest or biggest gaps is we're setting goals for them, right? Uh, we need more clarity in that. Number one, we got to understand how they operate. They're born with technology. I mean, not really born with technology, but they, from very early stages, they accustomed to uh, different types of gadgets, right? And we millennials, maybe not. So instead of saying that, you need to understand us, I think we need to get down to the level and try to understand them. They are here. They are the future. I mean, they are the present as well as the future. Our new managers are Gen Zs and gonna be Gen Zs. So, like how she said, we have to equip them with the right systems. They appreciate and they follow instant communication and instant gratification as well. I don't know how far we can do that, instant gratification, because the results take time, outcome and inputs take time. Their communication, the first gap is setting clear goals. So there has to be clarity. Number two, the communication. We have to also evolve in the way we communicate, right? If there is a gap in communication, um, they like being, you got to involve them in the conversation. Make it as simple and as clear as possible, right? Give them some freedom to experiment and perform. Don't micromanage them. I mean, nobody likes being micromanaged, but they definitely not. Some of us as parents, if we've got Gen Alpha at home, we've seen Gen Z, so I think we know what we are talking about, right? Tell them what not to do, and that exactly opposite happens. Set context. That's another gap, is what I feel. If we can set the context, make them aware, they'll get it done. They've got they are aware of many AI tools and many tools, which will help them do the job easily. So if we can tell them what is expected, give them some amount of freedom, they can get it done. These three gaps, the clarity in setting the goals, clear communication, and context setting. These three things are done. I think the distributed systems, no matter what region they are, right, they'd be able to work really well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vasant. And I think trust and visibility are becoming leadership currencies today. And I allude to what you said, and thank you so much for sharing that perspective. All right, wonderful. And I see super affirmations coming from the panel members. Love that. Keep that going. It's fantastic to see that energy coming in. I'm going to come to Akash now. Akash, your industry operates in an extremely dynamic and high pressure environment. So, how can leaders maintain empathy while still driving accountability in business outcomes?
First of all, thanks a lot for making me part of this panel, and a special mention for Anjan. Why? Because he is actually acknowledging the pain and efforts what our industry is taking. Because just to mention, we are 7,300 outlets, so this is third largest in the world, and we never we never have big mouths about it, so we don't publicize all these details. We are having 50,000 employees, and the biggest challenge in our industry is that the revenue model, just to keep it floating, is quite difficult, because the moment the revenue comes in, you have to be profitable, so that at least the things are working in its own way. And another challenge is that, very rightly put, that in such a high pressure and such a dynamic environment, the first easy most thing to lose is the empathy. But at the same point of time, you have to understand that the entire world is still working without AI. I mean, AI is helping us out, but it is not breathing in for us. right? So we need to understand and we need to acknowledge that fact. Of course, AI is going to, I mean, it is changing the game right now. But we all, I mean, I'm not talking anyone to be in person, but we are overrating AI and we are overrating technology in certain way. Because as far as health industry is concerned, wherein I come from, empathy has got the biggest role, because people are coming to us, they are in pain. I mean, nobody would like to step into the pharmacy just with a high sort of, enthusiasm, that today I will take a cholesterol medicine, or maybe let us take a blood sugar medicine. Then nobody comes like that. Nobody is joyful. So, as an industry, it is a prerequisite for us that we need to be highly empathetic towards others' pain, and that is how our organizational culture is built in a way. Because unless we don't be like that, unless our leaders, so this is a very fantastic part of Apollo Pharmacy, all our leaders are highly empathetic. I mean, they will just extract the juice out of you, but at the same point of time, they will be very much empathetic. They will never disturb you if you are in pain, and they will be at your support. So that is what we have learned. I mean, I have spent 11 years in this organization right now. So what I have learned from my all bosses is that when you are performing, they will just kick the juice out of you. But at the moment when you are in pain, the entire team is standing behind you. Hey, boss, you don't worry, I am there for you. So the crux of the matter is, we have got from our leaders high empathetic environment, and it is up to us now to pass on the legacy to our newcomers, and that's how the world will function. And we need to just acknowledge this fact, and we need to believe in this fact. Unless we don't do it, we are not going to survive.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing that, Akash. And I think in today's workplace, that's exactly what differentiates a respected manager from a transactional manager. And with that, folks, we move into topic two. So we've spoken about preparedness and leadership evolution. Let's now move into an equally important dimension, which is employee retention, trust, and manager capability. So to kick things off, Ms. Neetu, I'd probably come to you.
Yeah, hi.
Employees today, hello, employees today often disengage emotionally long before they resign formally.
Absolutely.
What are some early signs managers should recognize before attrition becomes inevitable?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, and hi to everyone, the panelists and the audience. So this is an inevitable question, right? As managers, it's so important for us or leaders to, even identify what are the early signs. So I would say that disengagement doesn't happen overnight. Okay. If you notice the patterns, right, it happens in phases, right? So according to me, a few early signs that we can think about is, I'm sure we would have seen high performers throughout our working era, but suddenly a high performer going silent in meetings, a high performer getting less curious about new projects, a high performer not asking for more tasks, right? So these are some early signs. Apart from that, just saying, this is not my job, or I will just do this much, this is my minimal stuff. So our managers even trying to see beyond their employee capabilities. Coming back to Azad's point on empathy, that is so true. I think irrelevant of whether we are in an AI world or even in future when it's going to go AI plus plus, right? So at any point of time in the world, when humans are still existing, empathy is the core of any human being, not only as a leader, as a manager. I mean, as anyone, empathy would be the core, right? And it was so glad to hear from you, Azad, that your industry, your people are, they though they take the juice out of people, how they come in together and are very empathetic. I think that empathy, if it goes away from managers, they will not be able to see through the lens whether my team member is getting burned out, or is he getting unseen, or is there a bias in the team, right? So out of my experience working with a few managers, just maybe I'll take another 30 seconds. What I have seen is, there would be a team of say 8 to 10 people, and always, whether we do good or whether the person does good or not, the appreciation always goes to just one or two people because they are their favorites, right? So removing bias from managers will be extremely important for any organization to look through the lens of disengaged people, right? So removal of bias, adding of more empathy into people, into the managers, and also trying to understand why a particular person who has been so communicative, who has been so much taking initiative, why has he or she become silent, right? So this is my take on the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Eve. That's a very powerful point because often silence itself becomes a signal for a
True.
lot of people to take back,
Hmm.
right? Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that so candidly and so succinctly. Now I'm going to move to Harshil. And Harshil, off the panel, all of you, I think you have tremendous patience. Thank you for your patience as I come to you. Organizations today have multiple generations working together with very different expectations from managers and workplaces. So, question to you is how can managers build trust across diverse employer groups or employee groups and work styles? So, I'll probably repeat that. How can managers build trust across diverse employee groups and work styles?
So, I think thank you so much for the question. And yeah, I think the advantage of going last is that I can pick up from everyone's conversation. Most of them have covered majority of the things which impact this particular question. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to phase this question in like two, three parts. One is uh, very simple, right? Like, trust is something which we all are, born and brought up with, saying that firstly you trust your parents with something, then you trust your, community with something, you trust your relatives with something, and then you trust your friend circle, and then it keeps growing, right? Trust is something which naturally comes to humans, right? And then it's a feeling which is mutually shared across, and the same thing applies to people when it comes to workspace as well, right? Like, it is not something which you can learn in presentations or a training. It is again an art which every manager has earned and also has learned from their seniors and experiences, and certain bad experiences which tells them what not to do when they have a team, right? So it's a combination of all of this put together. How I see it today is very simple. We grew up in a very different environment. Family background wise, our parents had a different life altogether. It was more of struggles in building up something. We then had to take the legacy ahead. Most of us moving beyond middle class and getting into a better living style, right? So our needs and wants were very different, right? This generation, the people who are a part of your team, is a mixed bag of millennials and Gen Zs and the generations coming forward, right? So you need to understand whom are you catering to, what are their needs, right? That's the most important question. Is their motivation driver money? Is their motivation driver the kind of work they're doing? Is their motivation driver a single post on LinkedIn and Instagram that I'm working here, or what, right? That defines the course of building trust within the team. And I feel that you can only understand this very well when you have deeper conversations, off grid conversations with your team members, much more than official conversations. Uh, and of course, uh, the biggest motivation at work is that this generation likes being appreciated, even if it's a small win, right? They would not wait for a larger win to come to you, and then they are appreciated on a bigger forum. But smaller wins also give them that joy. Smaller feedback is pretty important for them. You cannot wait for the end of the year to give them a feedback on something. They'll snap back at you, saying that, "Oh, you should have told me when it happened. It's too long for me to even apprehend why was this feedback given." So all of this, like a feedback given on time, appreciation given on time, understanding where they're coming from in terms of motivation drivers, is a good combination to build trust amongst your team members. And then, of course, finding common working patterns and systems is something which we do. So, like, something which I've been practicing is very simple, that I am not an early starter, I am an afternoon starter. So, we have a mapping which we've done, individual mapping, right? These are my styles of working. I like working in the second half. This is my time when I do most of the work, which is delegation. This is my time to take calls. Uh, I am very quick on I'm prompt at responding on WhatsApp. I'm not a social person on LinkedIn, sorry, on Instagram. But if you want to reach out, I can be available on LinkedIn. So we've done mapping, and then that is exchanged and discussed, right? It gives a basic sense of it's like basic hygiene, right? Like that's exactly how you would understand your team members better. Uh, and that just helps. Like I don't disturb a team member when they've said that I'm not an early starter. I will call them after 11 o'clock, but not early morning, right? So yeah, I think in Crux, these are the four elements which I would place out loud to share that this can build trust in today's world.
Excellent. Thank you, Harshal, because I think it's very important of how feedback culture, is plays a role in improving employee retention and manager effectiveness today. And then just a perspective for everybody, we always by default as individuals are very good at flexing upwards. That is, we align with our bosses like that as a snap of a finger. But it takes us a long time to flex downwards, which we're slowly seeing over a period of time. So it's so important, and Harshil made such a powerful point that it's also important to sometimes flex downwards. So you have enough and more autonomy that you're encouraging, which creates empowerment, creates people to go out there and do things for you the way they want to do it. Because at the end of the day, the outcome is more important. You don't want to see how the process works. Today, everybody's got AI to leverage themselves. It's no more a time and motion that you went, what did you draft? How many paragraphs did you write? I still remember my days when I learned through paragraphs to learn to draft an email. But it's no more that. I paste something, I get the email. Go on with it. You could actually put your time to some good use. Try and see how you have interactions and things like that. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Harshil, for that. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to pick the panel up a little. Let's do some cross panel reflection, okay, before we move to the next topic. And some of you who just spoke in the start, I'm going to come back to you. So this is a question to all of you, but I'd like to have very quick responses if that's all right. So, in your view, what's the single biggest reason employees disengage or leave managers today? Anybody can start.
Because they are feeling disconnected. Only the reason is that their managers are actually not able to engage them properly.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
go. Maybe I'll go next. So I would like to stay with my points on bias. So if I think that is removed, I'm sure you know that that is one of the biggest single reason employees disengage. That's number one, and number two, I would say empathy. So I would stay with the points that I've already mentioned. So these are some of the signs. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I'll extend to on what Neetu said. It's about empathy. It's also about psychological safety. Nobody gives you a cheat sheet saying this is what it is, but then if you feel it is there, you will stay with the manager.
Yeah, I
Well,
think I would second with Neetu and Ms. TT as well that it is empathy, psychological safety. At the same time, I think a lot of reflection as a team is also important, right? Like, if there's no constant reflection of where we are, and you need to do an upward and a downward feedback mechanism both. Like, you need to accept feedback if you're also giving. It's also important for you to take feedback as a manager, right? And today's generation genuinely likes giving feedback a lot. So it's on how you take that feedback is something which they really appreciate and would really keep them engaged.
Vasant.
I was
Maybe
about
I
to say.
one more. Okay, after Vasant, I'll just add one more point. Please go
I
ahead.
was
Sorry.
about to say psychological safety, but that's taken. I'd say that they want to have a sense of belonging.
Right.
Do I belong here? If that's not there, I'm just counting how many years have I spent. Now, in the company where I work, I see people 10 years, 15 years and all. And Gen Z looks at it, how can you stay for so long?
Yeah.
Sense of belonging is what I want to leave with. Yeah.
Okay. Neetu.
Yeah. So another thing is, I'm sure many of us would relate to it, micromanagement, right? Micromanagement, that too without empowerment, right? You keep nagging people to say, you just give them a task and you ask them in another 1 hour, especially in Gen Z, they'll just leave immediately. They'll say, I don't want to work with you, right? So it's very important. You give task, You guide them and also empower them as to do it at your, I mean, use your thoughts, use your creativity, and come back to me with a good solution. And I'm here to listen to you, right? So again, it comes back to psychological safety, right? Yeah. Thanks for that point again.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. And it's good to get all of you in. I want all of you in one perspective. So it kind of helped to blend that. I'm going to now transition to topic three. Thank you so much for all those insights that have been there so far. Let's now shift gears slightly and talk about the future: AI, capability building, and what the future manager will look like. So I'm super excited for this. And I'm going to come directly to you, Harshal. So AI is automating several operational aspects of work and management today. So do you believe middle management roles will reduce, or will they evolve into something significantly different?
Yeah, I think it's a good reflection, and I think to add to this particular point, it's very simple. Uh, it's not going to reduce middle management work, right? At the same time, if it's AI is just like how computers entered our lives. Uh, it did take away certain jobs, but at the same time, it also generated a lot of other jobs. So I feel that it's going to elevate the quality and the kind of work the middle management people do. It is going to act as a super enabler rather than just eradicating jobs out of the market. Right. In today's world, we thought that as L&D professionals, there's a lot of changes going to come into the market, and L&D is going to go all AI driven, etc. But today, we still all, I'm sure, agree on one stand that training still has a personal touch, and if done in person, is much better, right? Uh, it's a simple example: this entire session could have been driven by AI, but we still have experts for a reason, right? It's the same thing that you cannot remove jobs, but it'll be enablers for jobs in today's world and in the coming future.
I so relate to that, Harshal. Human at the center. I advocate that for it a lot because human in the loop and human at the center is always necessary, irrespective of any technology that we see. Thank you, Titi. I'm going to come to you. Capability building itself is being reshaped by AI.
Yeah.
So, what skills should managers start building immediately to remain relevant over the next few years?
The ideal answer, I think, what people would be expecting is AI, but my answer is different. Yes, AI is important, but I think contextual intelligence is important. What I mean by that is, and to what Harshal was saying to your question in terms of whether the middle management is going to be wiped away, it's not that. I think it's more in terms of when to step in versus when to step back. What is it that I need to be involved with? Also understanding what is it that I can automate and what is it that really requires human intervention. If there are certain things that can be automated, but if I'm still spending my time and effort and my people's time and effort in doing that, I don't have the intelligence, right? So really understanding if ABC skills can be automated, only D and E needs human intervention. Let me just invest my time in doing that. And also adjusting my leadership basis the maturity, basis ambiguity, and basis the pace of change. And I'll give you this example. Last weekend I was attending an AI workshop, and the youngest in the group was a Gen Z guy. It was all for the CXOs. I was a part of it, and this Gen Z was brought in by the chief marketing officer, and she said he's the one who always does all the AI work, so might as well have him in the session as well. I think the maturity for a leader is that if you have people with 25, 26 years of experience, and then you have somebody who's just got 2 years of experience, how are you managing that maturity? How are you ensuring that this person doesn't feel out of space? So that context, I'm just giving an example, but then that contextual style, intelligence of using your leadership style appropriately to ensure the psychological safety part that we are talking about, to ensure that everybody feels psychologically safe, nobody feels threatened. And I feel that my manager is not here to automate, my manager is here to help me grow. And if I have that confidence that, okay, you know what, some roles are getting automated, if my employee has the trust in me that even if I have to tell them that, hey, you know what, because of the direction that the organization is taking in, we will have to let you go. But then the trust factor is when the employee goes out, applies for a job, and comes back and discusses their offer with me and say, do you think it's a good person, it's a good offer for me to take that? So that contextual intelligence, I think, is really, really important. You cannot go by the books that you would have read on management in your MBA colleges. You may have graduated from the top B schools, but then the situation has changed. I think that is really important for people leaders.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Titi. Because, and I was reading this somewhere. I was doing another session a couple of days ago at my organization, and they said human-centered leadership is going to be a
Yes,
skill in the next 6 years, right? That,
absolutely.
which is something all of us practice day in day out today. With the advent of AI, that's going to be a niche skill that somebody needs to
Correct.
really build to navigate themselves.
True.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, Vasant, I'm going to come to you. Many managers today feel overwhelmed simply by the pace of change itself, right? Every second there's something changing. So, how can organizations build learning agility instead of simply adding more training programs to say you have to complete this by this date?
Mhm. Yeah. As a matter of fact, in our organization, they just made it as a mandatory thing that the employees will have to cover at least 3 hours of learning each quarter. Now, I see people are coming to for trainings these days, and I ask the same question: what brought you here, or why are you here? Is it your manager or you? Many of them don't answer, but their face gives me the answer. Now, we got to change that. We don't have to do a lot of trainings, is what I believe. I think we need to understand what is the problem or the problem statement. What are we trying to solve? It's the culture. If we can help not just the Gen Z, all generations put together, that for your kind of role, these are the skill sets which are required. And if we could give them tools to gauge themselves as to where they stand, I believe that they'll be able to understand and they'll say, hey, all right, so I'm supposed to be at level 5. I'm not at level 5. I got to go to level 5 so that I become a top performer or I get promoted. Now, for me to get to that level, what are the skill sets that I need to have and where can I get that? You can learn from many, many places these days. There are MOOC platforms, there are LXPs, LMSs, and just go to any of the AI tools. It'll be able to consolidate everything and give it to you, right? Our job is not to, uh, confuse them or load them with lots and lots of trainings. If we can show them the path and if we can create that interest in them, work on the change in behavior, nothing like it. So I think, we'll have to move from programs to practice. If they could realize that, yeah, application is the key and that'll take me to the next level, then we will get the pull than the push. It is all about application, not completion. Okay, how many have you completed? I've done 3 hours this quarter. What happened? Where did you apply these skills? Okay, was it even relevant to you? So if people are happy, come back and say that I've applied the skill. I'm happy. Now I feel confident in doing much better. Nothing like it. These are three areas that I feel, we've got to move from the number of programs to the practice part of it, from push to pull and application, not just completion. That's the change in behavior area I'm working on.
Excellent. And I think a lot of questions that I ask usually in my training sessions are you volunteered or you voluntold to come here, right? And with so much of technology being there today, I think it's important. You make a great point, was in saying allow people to learn as they want to. Give them all the flexibility. You've got all the resources opened up in your organizations, at least most organizations. So allow people to really use technology as they have. And with that, and thank you so much for that perspective, I'm going to segue to Akash. Akash, as workplaces become increasingly technology driven, how do leaders ensure the human side of leadership is not lost?
I think you already answered couple of minutes ago that in coming few years the human skills are going to be the most sought after skills. So that is one of the fact. And but yes, the question is quite relevant because these days, as I already said, that we are overrating and overdoing all this AI stuff. Of course, again repeating myself, AI is changing the game. But at the same point of time, we need to understand that emotions cannot be replicated and sympathy, empathy is something which cannot be regenerated. it is very well, it is going to be a human touch and it is going to be a human skill which is always going to play the game. So how to keep yourself more human in the scenario is, I mean, luckily I am from the industry wherein without these skills you cannot survive even a single day, because we are handling the range of emotions. Somebody has stepped in who has just been blessed with a baby boy or a girl, and somebody who has stepped in whose mother or father has have got a cancer report. At the same point of time, you are handling a team of people right from age 20 years of age to 50 years of employee in your team. So the spectrum of the emotion is quite high, and the age group what we deal in, it's I mean it's a big range of spectrum. So at that point of time, the job itself actually teaches you how more relevant human you are becoming, and the industry itself is actually teaching you. But at the same point of time, you have to be very conscious enough that you are not hurting each other. The typical Indian wisdom and the typical Indian sanskar what we had, the shishtachar what we had, if we just keep on practicing to that and if we just stick to our basics, we will definitely be a good human. And once when we are being a good human, we are definitely going to be a very good leader.
Excellent, excellent. Very, very well put, Akash. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. I'm going to go to Neetu last before we go into our next segment. So, Neetu, the
Yeah.
question to you is, in an AI enabled workplace, which human skills do you believe will become even more valuable for managers and leaders?
Okay, so part of my answer is, question is already answered by Akash, right? Staying at the core of our values of as a human, right? So, Anjan, is it skill or skills? Can I say plural as well?
Sure, sure, sure. Skills it is.
Okay, so because since we already knew the question, I had just tried to write down some points. So one is emotional intelligence. So when I say emotional intelligence, are we able to understand? I mean, as a leader, am I able to understand my own emotions and able to understand the team members' emotions? Am I able to navigate uncertainty when there is a lot of uncertainty across? There is change happening in the organization. Am I able to lead with compassion, especially during uncertain times? Right. So that emotional intelligence is very important. Number one. Number two, ethical decision making. Right. So again, getting back to the point that I have spoken about bias, right? So AI can influence a lot of things, right? It can help us with data, it can help us with a lot of other things, workplace systems, productivity and stuff like that. But again, are we making ethical decision making? Are we being fair enough? Are we having inclusion? Are we including our respective team members into various decisions? Are we having a responsible use of AI? Okay, especially in this AI world, I just wanted to add this. And the third one is very, very important as a leader, as a manager, learning agility. So in learning, when I say learning agility, there are three aspects. Am I able to learn, unlearn and relearn? Right. So it is just not that I keep learning, I keep telling my team to learn, as Vasant rightly said. So it's about, am I able to learn, unlearn and relearn quickly? There's no time in this disruptive world. And very important, as I said some time back, am I able to lead through ambiguity? And last, one particular skill which is very, very important as a leader, especially when where Gen Zs are there, they have a lot of knowledge, but my question is, they have a lot of knowledge, is it structured? So as a leader, an important skill that comes into play is coaching. Right? Am I able to sit down with the team member, understand that, hey, this is your skill, this is your strength. Okay, let me sit and help you structure this more better so that you can implement this more better for yourself and for the team betterment. Right. So again, to repeat my points: emotional intelligence, number two, ethical decision making, learning agility, and coaching. These are some four human skills that will still stay relevant.
Fabulous, fantastic. I don't think it could have summed up any better than that, Neetu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna now get into. I'm also keeping a watch on time, so I'm gonna quickly get into rapid fire. Okay, so I'm gonna ask all of you one quick question, and just for the purpose of everybody, this section is spontaneous. Okay, nobody knows any of these questions. All I want you to do is keep it just crisp to one word or one sentence answer. quickly so that we have that momentum building. Okay. So I'm going to start with you, Titi. One capability every manager must build in 2026.
Emotional intelligence, my favorite.
Awesome. Amazing. Vasant, one leadership habit managers need to unlearn immediately.
Micromanagement.
Okay. Akash, one reason employees still leave managers today.
They don't enjoy with them. So you have to make your work enjoyable. That's only when they stay with you.
There's no right way of saying that. Okay, Neetu, one human skill AI can never replace.
Okay, learning agility.
Okay. And Harshil, one AI trend HR and business leaders cannot afford to ignore.
Sorry, your voice was breaking. Couldn't
Yeah.
hear you.
One AI trend HR and business leaders cannot afford to ignore.
One AI trend, which I think it's change is the only constant. With AI, something what I've learned, and that is something which we can't ignore.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So, thank you to all my panelists here. We've covered leadership, retention, trust, capability building, and future of management. And I'm sure our audience also has some interesting perspectives and questions. So, Mr. Patil, let's now open the floor for some audience reaction. And if they have any questions, reflections that they wish to ask before I go into the next aspect. I don't see any questions in the chat. Mr. Patil, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm connected to a different system.
Okay.
There is one. It's shared by Purvi. How
Uh,
should managers balance performance expectation with employee well-being?
I think Akash has already answered that. He's super fast with technology. He's already given an answer. So let me know if you want something else from that perspective. It's very succinct. He says, quite difficult, but you have to make the employee own their task, keeping a balance of his or well-being, weight upon more important task or the well-being. So I'm hoping that answers. All right, I'll put it to the rest of the panelists in case somebody wants to add anything more. How should managers balance performance expectations with employee well-being is the question, folks. Anybody wants to add anything further? The chat has Akarsh's response, and I totally allude with him.
I think also aligning personal aspirations and goals with the company goals helps in doing this. So while it's not possible to do it all the time, but you can link it some or the other way and share that perspective with them, which makes them feel more involved and a part of the bigger wheel.
Excellent. Very well said, Harshil.
Maybe I can add one point, which is again out of my experience. What I have seen is how a manager can balance performance expectation with employee well-being. Is having a personal connect with your team, right? So, do we know details beyond just their basic stuff, right? So, do we understand when they actually switch off? When do they actually get excited? Right, so that goes a little that gets a little difficult for a manager, especially if he or she is in a very high operational role. But if the manager is able to take a little bit step to understand the team member and a little bit of their aspirations, adding Harshil's point as well, I think we should be able to manage performance expectation. It is a little difficult but not impossible though.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, Neetu. Any further questions as such, Bhuvi and Patil?
Yeah, so there
Anything
is
else that we
one.
have?
I don't know if it's answered already. So, can a strong company culture compensate for a poor manager experience?
I was waiting why that never came up. Okay, strong company culture for poor manager experience, and I think it's a double-edged sword to be honest. Okay, strong company culture. Anybody wants to take it before I can add some comments? Titi, I
So
saw you on
as
mute. You want to take
Yes,
that?
I love this because I was working on culture transformation in the organization when I joined Answer. And so, if your company culture is really strong, your poor manager is not actually an outcome of the system. It's who I am. And if it is who I am and I am not doing a right job, I think the organization should take a stand and say, you know what, I don't think the role and the person really match. So I guess organization should really um, take that stand and and be confident enough to be courageous enough to make that decision. A lot of times we don't do that just because we want to keep our clients happy. So status quo makes it really, really easy for everybody to kind of continue. But then the fact is, if in reality, if your company culture is really, really strong, very rarely would you have a bad manager. It's always the other way around. Is in my experience, that's always the other way around. Because if the company culture is strong, the company would never hesitate to let this person go. That's my take on it.
Perfect. So one question on the chat. Thank you, Titi. Thank you for that. So probably wasn't. I'm going to open it up to you first, and then maybe others. It says, how can employees effectively provide upward or reverse feedback to their managers in a situation like biasness?
Okay.
Sorry if I put you on the spot, but
I think I'm going to take it back to the company culture part, strong company culture, and I'm also going to take it back to the psychological safety part. If there is a strong company culture, and thank you for repeating the word psychological safety, it's part of my training today. If that's there, even if there is bias, I have a feeling that the employees will be able to give feedback.
very nice. Yeah.
But it strongly depends upon the culture and the kind of environment you create. So psychological safety and the culture that you have is key here.
And it also, thank you, Vasan. Thank you so much. And it's also so important that this it's a skill that people build. Giving and receiving feedback is a skill that you need to build over a period of time. So a lot of us, and don't take me wrong, in general context, a lot of people who position themselves as leaders are very good at giving feedback, but seldom few are good at receiving feedback too. So it's important to do both ways. Receiving feedback has to go through a very similar channel as, and there's always this aspect of urge for us to justify, for us urge to have that guilt to say, did you find something to be working right? Can you please tell me yes, no? When somebody says that things do not work well, but listening, and more so listening empathetically, I think will change the game when you're actually receiving feedback, because that way you've been listened to. And I can give you a very, very important or a very simple example from my journey. So when I was a manager, I was managing different teams of about 40 plus. We had at points in time hired from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, right? So and let's be honest, they took some time to acclimatize themselves with the professional setup of the organization. So we used to have team meetings, and they some of them came up to me and said, you know what, we're wonderful, we love to work, we're learning a lot, but some of these team meetings, can you ask people to talk a little slowly so that we can follow through? Because for us, the language is a little new. English for us, continuously talking is something that we've not that way practiced. So can some people slow down? So I found that to be very, very powerful as a feedback. Didn't say anything at that point in time. And I said, cool, fair, and went back. I kind of got the team together and said, let's pace ourselves down. And I put it in a manner to say, this is ourselves to improve communication. So we have to slow down ourselves so that people understand and comprehend, rather than putting it saying, you'll all have to slow down, people don't really understand you, right? So allowed about 3 or 4 meetings to go by. The fifth meeting, called them back and asked, are you finding it okay now? So when they said, yes, we do, and you saw that entire face glow up and they said, we're able to contribute, it's an affirmation. And they also understand that you create a culture where feedback is heard and feedback is received as well. So it works that way. Harshal, you raised your hand. You had something to share. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I think only one thing to add here, and I think that is stuck by with me throughout when I was an individual contributor, moved into a team, and then now a leader, right? So I think what we forget, and I think it's a mindset shift, right? That feedback is not personal. It is only and only going to help you grow professionally. And this was something which one of my friend had told me when I had joined. A bigger MNC than the smaller one I was working in. He said, "No one's your friend there. You're not there to do someone else's job. It's everyone's doing a common job, which is the company's job. So don't take feedback personally. Take it as a professional upgrade, or else you'll never progress." Right. So as leaders, I think it is also very important for us to absorb the feedback and then dissect it in our head whether it's actually relevant or was it in the moment, and then go back rather than reacting on the spot saying that, oh, I did not do it that way, right? So I think it's this is one of my biggest learnings today which I have.
Amazing. I have two more questions, but I'm going to pace time. So I'm going to ask, out of the two, I'm going to ask one, and then if you have time, I'll go to the other one, and we can answer it outside. So the one which is interesting says that how do you differentiate between a manager who is truly bad and a manager who simply has no growth path to offer their team? One of you should answer this.
So let me take it because I was stuck with a manager who was literally not at all offering any growth to anyone. So my this answer will also cover the previous questions apart, because sometimes what I feel, we Indians have got strong tendencies of forgetting ourselves. So typically, there was a daily soap, "Saas bhi kabhi bahu thi." So we often forget that a manager was also an intern at some point of time. So we don't have to carry on the wrong things of our cultural legacy. Whatever operations, what happened on me, I should be doing that to my team. We need to stop that, first point. Second point is that any manager who is not able to give any kind of growth opportunity, maybe financially or vertically, of course these are all very substantial and quite visible growth. But also the third factor which people don't much they look upon is that what is the learning you are offering to your team. And for that part, you have to actually be on your toes always, because you are actually being expected from your top management, also from the bottom layer which you actually manage. Both of the layers are expecting something out of you daily. So unless if you are not able to give them the learning growth, you are of no use for your team or for your company. Better relearn and unlearn whatever the wrong things you have learned. So you have to give them the growth in terms of learning. Financial and vertical growth will automatically follow.
Excellent. Wonderful. Wonderful. Uh, Neetu, I see you unmuting. You want us to share something, or can I go to Harshil because he has his hands up?
Sorry, you can go to Harsh.
Thank you. Harshil, over to you.
Okay, great. So I think this is an amazing question. I think the first part to it is identify whether you're constantly getting carrots or there is genuine efforts made by your managers to for your progression, right? And clearly define. Whenever I join any firm or a company, I have a typical 3-year plan saying that first year is knowing the company is knowing you, whether you both are a perfect match or no. Second year is when you're performing in your best and gearing up for the next couple of years. Third year is actually you'll understand whether you are actually making a cut, or it's just going to be another carrot, another carrot, another carrot. So this plan your years in a way where you exactly understand whether it's moving in the direction of your career path which you've defined for yourself, or if not, have constant, and of course during the course have constant communication with your manager so that you know where you're lagging or what is the expectation. If it still doesn't meet, then you're at the wrong place. You may not be the wrong person, but you are at the wrong place, and you can change your place to understand whether it's not meant for you.
Perfect. Wonderful. Wonderful. I can take a last perspective, Neetu, if you want to add, because time is of essence, and I'll have to close. So if you want to give some
Yes, yes.
quick insight, yes.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if you have answered Shailesh's question on something on EQ and leadership empathy. I don't. I'm just missing out on that
No, I
question.
think I think it was a longish debate of a question, so I decided not
Okay.
to pick that up
All
right
right.
now. We can get it
Okay.
answered separately because emotional intelligence itself requires another session for us to have.
Yes,
But
yes,
long
yes.
story short, to
Sure.
Shailesh's point, I'd read the question. I think the answer is yes, but how you measure it is debatable and context to each organization and what they want to do. So they might want somebody who's technically sound yet to be in a manager seat with some amount of work because they want people to drive technicality. It depends on what kind of leader they're looking at. So if it's a people leader, then what you're saying makes sense. But if it's a leader who has to get his hands into technicality day in, day out and lead people technically, then a technical leader probably would work to set. I could probably give you that as a
Yeah.
very short paraphrased answer. Thank you, Neetu.
Yes,
Thank you for
I think
prompting.
you almost, stole my mind voice. That was exactly what I wanted to say. And maybe just to add perspective to Mudit's question, I think it's very important to for managers to stop. taking the pressure and downloading it to their teams, right? So at some point of time, see, there is someone right on the top who's passing on the pressure, say n minus 1, n minus 2, right? Somewhere at least the n minus 1 or the n minus 2 should stop giving the pressure downwards, understand it, observe it, and give it in a positive manner. So I have worked with a leader who always used to get pressurized by his or her manager, but when it used to come to us, it never used to come in a pressurized manner. It used to come in a way that we love doing that project, and in a matter of no time, say in 1 or 2 days, because we love working with that manager, we will stay overnight, finish the task for that person, right? And there she goes, she's able to go and give it back to her manager, saying that, look, my team is so competent, so efficient, right? So that's very important. Are we able to actually, as managers, as leaders, are we able to absorb the pressure? I think that is why we are there as leaders. Initially Titi rightly mentioned that a manager is someone who had been an excellent individual contributor, but are we moving from that space and trying to understand that now we are in a sandwich, right? We have to take it from top and we have to take it from the down also. Are we able to balance that? So I think that's where we have to balance as leaders and managers.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Neetu. And as I bring this to a close and as we conclude today's session, one thing becomes very clear. Technology may transform workplaces, but human leadership will continue to define workplace experiences. Employees may join organizations for opportunities, brands, or compensation, but they stay where they feel trusted, heard, and developed. And perhaps that is the real role of the future manager. Thank you once again to our esteemed panelists, Skillame, and everyone who joined us today. This has been truly an insightful and meaningful discussion. And thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day ahead. Before I let all of you go, I'm going to ask Partly if you have anything that you want anybody to fill in, any forms or any aspects, or you're going to have everything done through post communication before we let people go.
Yes, yes, Mr. James. We'll do it later. So,
All right.
yeah, so we can close the discussion.
Perfect.
Thank you,
So thank
everybody.
you so much, everybody. Thank you. And thank you for those wonderful questions. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
panelists, for your patience and sharing candid perspectives. Wonderful facilitating with all of you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Thank you.
Mansi.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Purvi. Thank you, Veerbhadra. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.